Quivering Desire. Chapter 4. An Electrifying Evening. I couldn't remember the details of the day, what I wore, who I spoke to, how many meetings I sat through. Everything blurred into static behind the one face that refused to leave my thoughts. Damien. His name played on a loop in my mind like a guilty pleasure I didn't want to give up. I was acting like a 13-year-old girl nursing her first big crush, except this wasn't sweet or innocent. It was deeper, raw. My thoughts weren't butterflies and doodled initials. They were fire, feverish. I resented the way he had slipped past my defenses, taking up space not just in my body, but in the places I usually kept guarded. My emotions had never been so easily swayed, and yet, I was enjoying every moment of it. It wasn't just memory that haunted me. It was sensation, the warmth of his hands, the way his breath would hitch when I touched him in just the right place. Sometimes I'd catch myself staring into space, replaying those moments like my mind was trying to brand them into my body. It wasn't just desire anymore. It was obsession. Creeping in slowly and silently, curling around my ankles and tugging me deeper every time I swore I'd found my footing. And worst of all, I didn't want it to stop. My heart beat faster whenever I thought of being alone with him again. There was a tension coiled inside me, tightly wound and humming with electricity. Every moment apart felt like holding my breath, waiting for the next spark, the next chance encounter, the next excuse to close the distance again. I was in trouble. Delicious, dangerous trouble. And I was already hoping night would fall quickly. The seminar ended with the usual mix of handshakes, smiles, and polite nods. I went through the motions, saying the right things, thanking the right people. But it all felt distant, like watching myself through a foggy window. My mind wasn't in the room. It hadn't been all day. And then I saw him, Damien, standing casually near the back of the room, chatting with someone, hands in his pockets like he had all the time in the world. He wasn't looking at me. He didn't have to. The second I saw him, an electrifying current ran through my body, hot and uninvited, and I had to remind myself, control yourself, Liz. I kept my pace steady as I walked past, pretending to be focused on the door. But my body had other plans. My breath caught in my throat, and even though I didn't look back, I felt him notice. I didn't have to see his smile. I could feel it curl behind me like a heat wave. In the lobby, a tap on my elbow. I turned slightly. Damien. Voice low, casual. Too crowded, he said. Do you want to ride home? I should have said no. Somewhere in my head, I did. That version of me, the one who makes smart decisions, who keeps things professional, she said no. She probably even meant it. But that's not what happened. Instead, I nodded. Small, subtle, but it was all the answer he needed. And somehow, without another word, we slipped out together, past the crowd and the polite noise, and into a different kind of silence entirely, the kind that buzzed with anticipation. We got to my apartment building and pulled into the driveway. The engine was still running, but neither of us moved. The conversation had turned easy and slow, like soft jazz playing in the background of something unspoken. I laughed at something he said. He smiled at something I didn't. Damien parked the car, half-blocking traffic, and I didn't stop him. I didn't want him to move. Sitting there beside him, cocooned in that dim, humming space between our words, I felt warm, flustered in a way that had nothing to do with the late summer heat. Something had been building since the morning, since the elevator, since last night, really. I knew I had to leave before I completely unraveled. Because I was smitten, heart-thumping, breath-catching smitten, and doing everything in my power to hide it. So I made my move. Better to leave with something still unsaid than to say too much. I leaned in, kissed him softly on the cheek, impulsively, and immediately regretted it. It was innocent, stupid, sweet, way too much. Or maybe too little. I didn't know anymore. I turned away, avoided his eyes, stepped out of the car, and walked straight toward the entrance of my building, trying not to look back. I told myself I'd done the right thing until I got inside and realized I'd left my phone in his car. My stomach dropped. Going back meant facing him again, the same him I'd spent the whole evening resisting. Going back risked everything I'd tried so hard to keep together tonight. I wanted him. God, I wanted him. But I also wanted to stay in control. Right now, I wasn't sure I could have both. So I sat on the edge of my bed, shoes still on, keys still in hand, trying to think clearly. The memory of his eyes, his voice, his scent, all of it still clung to me like heat on skin after rain. After several minutes of pacing and overthinking every possible angle, I called Damien from my landline, something I hadn't done in years. My voice was calm, but my heart was doing laps. I asked casually if I'd left my phone in his car. He confirmed it. "I'll bring it back," he said easily, like he hadn't just driven 10 minutes away. I was already on the highway, but it's no big deal. I told him he didn't have to, but I didn't stop him either. Then came the question that made my breath hitch. "You want me to meet you in the driveway, or should I come up?" It was innocent, practical, but it didn't feel innocent. Not to me. My instinct screamed driveway, safer, neutral, fast in, fast out. But what came out of my mouth was, "Come up, if you don't mind." And just like that, I'd invited temptation into my space. The apartment was empty. No voices, no noise, no buffer. And if anyone came back and found him here, that alone could unravel the carefully constructed life I'd built for myself. I told myself it was just a phone drop-off. That was all. I fixed my hair in the mirror even though I wasn't going anywhere. Opened the door to wait. My heartbeat filled the hallway, louder than the silence. I panicked that waiting at the door might seem too eager, so I retreated back inside. My heart sank the moment I heard the knock. Then another, firmer, like he knew exactly what he was doing to me. "Coming," I called out, though the word barely left my lips. And then the door opened. There he was, 1 foot inside my world, holding my phone like a peace offering. But his eyes were the real confession. Dark, searching, lit with something that mirrored the fire scorching its way down my spine. I didn't think. I crossed the room in 3 breathless steps and went to him. Not gently, not sweetly, but with the raw ache of everything I'd been holding in since the moment he walked away. It was a kiss that tasted like a question and an answer all at once. He responded like he'd been waiting for it. One hand gripped my waist, the other slid into my hair. I arched into him. Heat bloomed between us. There was nothing polite about this, nothing clean or careful. This was a collision of mouths, of everything we hadn't said, of every second of silence between us finally giving way. He pressed me back against the wall, the door shutting behind him with the finality of a decision we'd already made. "Don't," he said at one point, low, forehead pressed to mine. "Not unless you want me to lose the last thread of control I've got left." That was the moment everything stilled. The air thickened. The silence pressed in. Not empty, but loaded. Like the moment right before lightning splits the sky. And in that pause, I realized I didn't just want the storm. I needed it. What came next was urgent and all-consuming. Nothing like the slow reverence of the morning or the afternoon's quiet tenderness. This was raw. More desperate, like we'd both been holding our breath all day and had finally exhaled. Afterward, he held me, pressed against him, arms like a shelter rather than a cage. I felt his chest rise and fall against mine, his breath evening out slowly, his hands gentling. "You're incredible," he whispered. And the way he said it, not like a compliment, but like a confession, made something deep inside me clench. We stayed tangled together for a long time, heartbeats in sync, the storm quieting to a hum. It was raw. It was tender. It was everything. Silence settled over the room. Not heavy, not awkward, but full. Like we'd used up all the air and were only just remembering how to breathe. I stared at the ceiling. My thoughts were deafening. What just happened? I could feel him beside me, his fingers tracing idle patterns like he couldn't quite stop touching me. Part of me wanted to pull away, to pretend I wasn't this open. But the bigger part didn't move. I was scared. Not of him, but of myself. Of how quickly I'd given in. How badly I'd wanted it. How good it felt not to overthink, to just feel. I couldn't remember the last time I'd let go like that. The last time someone looked at me not like a title, but like someone they were genuinely completely drawn to. It was thrilling, terrifying. This wasn't just a casual thing anymore, at least not to me. And that realization came with a knot in my stomach. What was I doing? I turned slightly, just enough to glimpse him in the low light. Hair a mess, lips parted like he wanted to say something but didn't know how. This was dangerous territory, and I didn't trust myself not to fall too far too fast. Still, my heart beat a little differently now. And as he pulled me close without a word, like it was the most natural thing in the world, I realized I wasn't ready to let go just yet. After a long, quiet moment, I sat up. "Let's go back to the hotel," I said. His eyebrows lifted just slightly. That crooked grin appeared. He could probably tell what it meant, a woman asking to come with him. But he didn't press. He let me have my reasoning without demanding an explanation. I gathered a few things, threw on something comfortable, and we left the apartment with a particular hush hanging between us. Not awkward, just unsure. Like neither of us quite knew what this meant now that the line between attraction and something deeper had disappeared entirely. He opened the car door for me. Unnecessary, but sweet. As I slid into the seat, I realized I wasn't nervous anymore. I was curious. Curious about how long I could keep this going without it spiraling. Curious about whether he saw this as just a detour or something more. And curious about myself. This version of me who was breaking all her own rules, one evening at a time. As we pulled away from the curb, I didn't look back at the apartment. I wasn't sure if that was a good thing or not. End of chapter 4. If you're enjoying the story, this is the tamed version. If you want the full, unedited, quivering desire, every heat, every detail, every moment we had to leave out to keep it clean for this platform, grab your physical copy and enjoy the uninhibited version.